Hey everyone, welcome to the BritHick. Back with myself, Connor, and Aaron. This is episode 7. Thanks for everyone for joining us again. Just want to take a moment to preface this episode. We're going to do things slightly differently this week to counterbalance the weight of last week's episode. But before we get into that, so to speak, we just want to take a moment, obviously, in light of everything that is continuing to go on within the United States and the shows of solidarity shown in countries around the world for the Black Lives Matter movement. We just want to make mention of some charities and sources that you can look up to make donations and help support the cause here in the UK as well as in the US. Aaron, if you want to reel off a few of those charities we've looked up.
For the UK, we've got Stand Up to Racism. There's Black Lives Matters UK. Give Racism the Red Card, which is to do with racism in football and sports. There's Runnymede. There is the Stephen Lawrence Charitable Trust. I'm trying to think of the other ones that you mentioned earlier, Connor.
So you've got Stop Hate UK, which was originated in 1995 as well. That was off the back of the Stephen Lawrence murder. Coalition for Racial Equality and Rights, which is based in Scotland. Discrimination Law Association. Race Equality First, also based in Scotland. And obviously there's the Black Lives Matter UK organisation as well. And then in addition to these various charities, we just want to draw attention to some members of the musical community who are doing parts to help fundraising efforts right now, and some sources that you can help donate to by way of buying music. We'll link the article in question because there's a list of around 70 record labels that you can check out and help with this cause. And then some honourable mentions. This week on the 2nd of June, Death Wish Incorporated were donating 100% of proceeds to Black Lives Matter and various fundraising sources to help with bail, etc. In the US. The band Jesus Piece, just before we started recording tonight, they've put up that they've so far raised $35,000 in support of this cause. Code Orange, along with Vane, Turnstile, and another band who I do apologise, it slipped my mind. They're doing a raffle online where you can enter to buy a ticket with a chance of winning test pressings of their records, and all those proceeds will go towards charitable causes in support of BLM. There'll be a few more as well that will link up with the episode description this week, so you can check those out.
There's been a couple pedal builders that have been doing circuit boards and kind of limited release pedals and things for Black Lives Matter over in the US. So Entropy FX have done a Black Lives Matter pedal in response to disparaging comments made by the chairman of Full Tone Electronics. So it's a clone of one of his most well-known pedals. All proceeds are going to BLM charities. Abominable Electronics have done a Black Lives Matter circuit board. They sold the first 460 or 80 pretty quickly. $3,200 went to Black Lives Matter Seattle, which is where the company's based. They're doing another 280 of a variant colour, and they've just released, I think it's a raffle in conjunction with AF Records, which is Anti-Flag's record company, for their Fuck White Supremacy pedal, and all of the proceeds of that will go to charity as well.
I know, following Joe from Lone Wolf Audio online, he's going to have a pedal out as well in support of this cause. So yeah, just to reiterate, obviously all of these charities that we've mentioned, we'll make a list of links for everyone to check out. We'll post that on our socials and just within the episode description as well.
Yeah, but I should make a point. We haven't said any of the US ones because they've been highlighted quite a lot, because obviously everything is happening in the US. So we thought we would make a point of kind of bringing up kind of anti-racism charities of the UK, but we'll probably include a list of the US charities as well, such as the George Floyd GoFundMe and things like that.
To kind of follow on from that, and as I mentioned at the start, we're going to take a slightly different approach this week, because obviously as the situation within the US is continuing to escalate, it just seemed a bit futile to kind of take the face and heel format this week in light of what's happening, to kind of suggest that there's something worse going on than what's currently unfolding in front of the world's eyes. Also to kind of just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit, there's a lot of tension right now across all the social media, like most conversations. It's a very dark time, and hopefully there will be light that comes from it. So just to like lighten the mood this week, we're going to just take a different tack, have a bit of more of a lighter discussion. So what you been up to this week, Aaron?
Not a great deal. I've got like more on next week, weirdly. So with work and stuff, I was scheduled to kind of go and do things this week. They've been pushed back to next week. Got a friend's birthday next week, and I'm also being interviewed on behalf of the band for the Joshua Files, which is a guy, Joshua Worthington, who's started a podcast predominantly interviewing people from various bands. So he's had, I can't even remember, he's had so many people on, it's just crazy. Like quite a few people, like particularly from kind of like the slam and brutal death metal communities that have been on it. Most recent one was Chris and Mike from Party Cannon, doing that on Thursday as well. Over last weekend, I dropped some stuff off for someone and managed to get burnt on one arm, which was good.
Trucker 10.
So I've basically got a trucker tan on, and it's the right arm as well for a right-hand drive car. It's on my right arm. I've absolutely buggered it. So I've basically been spending most of the week slathering my right arm in moisturizer to try and stop it from becoming leather. Other than that, I had the trials and tribulation of a video call date, which was interesting. It went well though, but it's one of those things where you got to get used to not actually seeing the person in front of you in person.
Funny, considering when we were doing the MSN episode talking about online dating. Look where we are now.
Yeah, exactly. Back to square one.
Just with better tech.
Yeah, it's not quite such a potato camera. But yeah, no, other than that, like, not a great deal. Like, how's your week been?
Well, had a 3-day working week, which was nice. Took a couple of days off. It was Aston's birthday yesterday.
How did it go? Was she pleasantly surprised with your going beyond the cause of good boyfriend?
Well, yeah, like, for kind of context, like, obviously, like, Aston really, like, it sounds really, really silly sentence I'm about to say, but Aston, like, really enjoys her birthdays. Like, I enjoy my birthday, but I'm happy to have, like, just quite a quiet day. Like, I don't need, you know what I mean? Like, I just kind of, as long as I can see, like, Aston and, like, my family and mates and whatever, like, that's enough for me. That's cool. But, like, Aston always, like, does a lot of things with her friends and stuff and, like, celebrate with everyone. But obviously, current circumstances, we couldn't do that this year because, unfortunately, there weren't any party venues available in Durham. But so basically, yeah, I was like, I wanted to make it as nice a day as I could with the limitations. So got a load of our friends, obviously Aaron included, to record some video messages wishing her a happy birthday. Managed to do that all on the sly. So I put a little video together of that. I got up yesterday at like 4 a.m. Like, put that together, clean the kitchen, and that's partly for my own sanity as well because it was a tip. And then I kind of, like, decorated the whole downstairs with, like, birthday decorations, banners and stuff that I bought, like, and got sent to my mum's house, again, to give the game away. Did all of that. Went to Tesco's because I'd planned everything else out and forgot to buy a birthday card. So I had to, like, power walk to Tesco's and back at like 7 a.m. And then, yeah, just got everything sorted out. She literally had no clue. And then, yeah, when she came downstairs, she literally just burst into tears because she was a bit overwhelmed by it. I was like, oh, but no, she had, like, and then obviously when she saw the video messages as well. But no, she loved it. She had a really nice day. It was really nice. Like, a couple of her mates from work popped round to see us. Like, we sat in the garden. And they came around for like a couple of hours actually. And then her dad and stepmom came round later in the evening to give her a present. And we were again chatting in the garden. Our next door neighbours as well sent a card over, which was really nice. And yeah, we got a takeaway. You know, it's pretty casual in itself, but it was just a really nice day.
I should apologise for the absolute cluster that was my my video. It was 15 seconds of me basically just stumbling over my own words. So, but
that's fine. Literally, I would have been the same. Like, I find it really awkward recording videos.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. But at least it was in there. That's the main thing.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Like, it was appreciated. Like, definitely. Aside from birthday stuff, I've bought a tiny bass guitar this week. So yeah, I bought a Squier Bronco bass, which is absolutely sick. Actually, it's just really fun to play. I think the intended market is like beginners and children, because it's a shorter scale. It's a bit of a small body and stuff, but a lot of people buy them and mod them, or even just leave in stock, and they're actually like really punch above their weight kind of thing. Really enjoying that at the moment. And then I've got a DIY like Telecaster kit on the way, which I'm going to build. Got some lovely like shell pink paint from B&Q.
They're going to do a sweet rattle can job.
Oh yeah, like rough and ready, but it'll be fine.
Sometimes they're the best though.
That's it. I don't want it to look too pretty.
It's that thing of like, if you spend thousands of pounds on a guitar, the first time you twat it, you might as well just start crying, because it's like each time that the first time it happens, it's like, yeah, it's half the value now.
Yeah. I remember I took my ESP out of the gig bag and it had that bit out the back. I was like, oh.
It's like, oh no, that's it. Well, that was the Cardiff show where my Dean was basically in two pieces.
Yeah, it got decapitated, the poor thing.
Didn't even get decapitated. It was like it had been cut in the belly.
Yeah. The fact that we didn't notice until the next day. Just like, oh, that's meant to be attached.
It got fucked. Oh well, it was salvaged. It wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah, it's still going strong. But yeah, that's been about it for me this week, really.
Oh, the other thing is that I can't remember if I said last week that I bought a load of bourbon. It turned up, so I'm kind of gradually working my way through 3 bottles of bourbon at the moment.
Oh, speaking of alcohol, actually, like we popped over to my mum's the other day, and it was in the garden. If any jobs worth want to start getting funny, we went to pick up some like garden furniture because we haven't got any.
Yeah.
And it was just like stuff that she doesn't need anymore. And there was, do you know that Jack Daniel's cider?
Jack Daniel's cider?
Yeah, I really like it. It doesn't really taste much like cider. It kind of tastes like a Jack Daniel's, a bit of a tang to it, but it's quite nice.
Right, okay.
I was really into it like a couple of years ago. Bought loads, and then I just kind of stopped drinking it. And there's loads left in the shed at my mum's. She's like, do you want the Jack Daniel's cider? I was like, oh, might as well. There's about 30 bottles, so our fridge just looks like cry for help at the moment. Like, it's just full of Jack Daniel's cider.
It's become a student fridge.
Yeah, it's literally like every space I'm trying to find is like to fit a bottle of this cider in.
When you said about Jack Daniel's cider, it made me think. Do you remember that Jeremiah Weed stuff?
Yeah, and it came in those like mason jars.
Yeah, because that was when you said about that. It made me think of that, because that was like there was a sour mash one and a ginger one, and the sour mash one just tasted like Jack and Coke. So I've started drinking bourbon because I wanted to find something that wasn't just Jack Daniel's. So I bought 3 bottles that were all under £20 each. On the advice of YouTube. But the problem is that a lot of them are American, so they'll say, oh yeah, try this, it's only X amount of dollars, and you look and then it's more in pounds than it is in dollars, and it's just not worth it for some of them. But these 3 were all right, and then I've got another different 3 lined up ready in my basket to go for when these 3 are done.
Oh, okay. So what are you on at the moment? Like, what have you got?
So I've got Old Forester. Is it Old Forester? Yeah, Old Forester 86, which is the proof. So it's 43% alcohol. Because they vary. Which is what I'm drinking at the moment now. Which is nice. I've got 4 Roses and Buffalo Trace. And Buffalo Trace is like the most kind of well-known one in the UK.
Yeah, I've had Buffalo Trace.
It's weird. When I first opened them and had them, I was like, Old Forester is the one that I really like. But after I've had like a couple glasses of them, I'm kind of like, and when I first had the Buffalo Trace, I was like, no, I don't like this one. Whereas now I'm like, kind of, I still think that the 4 Roses and the Old Forester I prefer to the Buffalo Trace. But the Buffalo Trace is closer, and I can't tell whether or not I prefer the 4 Roses or the Old Forester. So it's just kind of like just deciding on which one I prefer is weird. But then it's like if you have it after food, it tastes different to if you don't and shit like that. And I'm always having it with Diet Coke as well. So I mean, there's going to be people that are like, no, you can't have it with Coke, but that's just how I drink it. So
that's heresy to some people.
Yeah, so just fuck yeah, I don't care. Like that's how I'm going to drink it. So, but no, I've got in my basically in my basket for the next three. They're all 25 quid. So I've kind of gone up a £5 a bottle. So it's Woodford Reserve, which apparently is quite like Old Forester because it's from the same distillery, or it is now from the same distillery. Wild Turkey 101, which is 50%. So it's not the regular Wild Turkey; it's like a higher proof one. And Tin Cup, which seems weird because in America it's called American whiskey, not bourbon, but in the UK it's called bourbon. So I don't know what it's going to taste like. But the top of the bottle is a jigger, that's why it's called Tin Cup, because it has a cup on the top of the bottle.
Ah, okay.
And you're meant to measure with the cup basically on the top of the bottle. So it'll be interesting because I don't like whiskey. I don't like Scotch and I don't like Irish whiskey. So it's going to be interesting if that Tin Cup tastes like bourbon or if it is really different.
But I absolutely ruined any kind of whiskey or bourbon for myself that time that I pickled myself at Dave's house.
Yeah, but you were drinking it was Red Label, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was Johnny Walker Red Label.
I was so ill. I was so sick.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but at the same time, like, I think even if you speak to people that like drink whiskey, they'd be like, yeah, you don't want to be drinking that stuff. That's like the one that people normally go for is Black Label. And even people will be like, oh, I don't know about that. Red Label's the one that's cheaper than Black Label.
Yeah, I think that's why I bought it, like, if we're going to be honest. But yeah, it was a bad idea, a bad mistake.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, the whole, which is annoying because the cost for how good it is compared to obviously buying something from America, I can't get on with any Scotch, like, at all. Like, I've tried, but any kind of like peated or smokiness or like that kind of taste, I was like, nah, it's no good for me. It'd be good if I actually liked something that came from somewhere a bit closer, so you could go to the distilleries and like get involved in it rather than liking stuff that's from fucking Kentucky and Texas and shit like that.
It's exotic like drinks.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, or you can go to the arse fuck end of nowhere, Kentucky, to go to a distillery. It's like, you got to think that I could be sat in like San Francisco or New York, and it would take me longer to get to where that distillery is in fucking Kentucky than it is from where we're sat right now to get to the Jameson's distillery. It's just like, yeah. So in typical me fashion, I like something that costs a stupid amount of money to import. But yeah, it is what it is. Right. Should we chat about what we're going to chat about? The bloody chats. Yeah.
Are we going to chat about the chats? I am down for that.
I don't know. Maybe another time we'll chat about the chats.
I don't. How are we going to segue that into an episode?
We should get the other guys in the band to talk about the chats, really. I feel like that should be a 5-way conversation.
The infamous chats show of December 2019.
No, what are we going to chat about today?
So we're going to talk about Temples Festival, and specifically Temples Festival 2015. That is the right year, isn't it? I haven't just completely bungled that.
Yeah, it is. I've got the lineup on my phone just so that we can refer to who was playing when. In fact, I've just seen that there's a band that played here who I know their drummer, but I didn't know that they played this, which is interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, You would have probably spoken to him as well. He worked at the music shop in Cardiff. He was the drum guy, Glenn.
Oh, yeah. When we played like last summer.
Yeah. Speaking to him, like he plays in a band called Grand Collapse, and I've just seen that they opened the third stage on the Saturday. I would have been in Weatherspoons. We should just like go back to the beginning, because Temples Festival was the first time that like we actually properly spoke to each other.
Yeah, it's when we first met, actually.
Yeah, so I knew who you were just through playing in Seethe.
Yeah, and I think like we just stopped around that point.
You were winding down, if you hadn't finished. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. For context, like we obviously met and became mates, and then shortly after we started Casket Feeder.
Yeah, it was about 6. Well, yeah. So the band that myself and Lewis, who's the bassist in Casket Feeder, were in, split up in like January 2016, and then we started jamming kind of like 3-4 weeks after.
Yeah. It didn't. We were quite quick to get on it.
Well, you and Graham were the first ones that were doing stuff, weren't it?
Yeah, we've been speaking for a while. Steve was like done and dusted, as far as like we either had to finish at that point, or we like the last gig was like scheduled, so we knew it was finishing basically. And Crossburner had stopped, and me and Graham had been talking for a while about doing a band together, and then it all kind of just like fell into place really after Temples. It was exactly the kind of thing you were looking to do as well.
Probably from watching Temples as well. I think I messaged you just saying, did you want to do something that was like HM2? Then you said, funnily enough.
Oh yeah, I've written some bits. And
then ended up getting Lewis in on the action. Well, I can't remember which way around it was, if it was Matt first or Lewis first, but
Matt was the last person. It was 4 of us, and then vocals was the last thing we got in place.
Yeah, so 4 of the 5 of us were at this festival. Lewis was.
I'm trying to find a full lineup poster here, but like they're all the only ones I can find are ones with like more artists to be announced, and I know it's not the full lineup because Venom Prison played on the Sunday and they're not on this poster.
See, I didn't see Venom Prison when they played. Like, I got into them about like 4 or 5 months afterwards. I think they said that was like their second or third show or something mental.
Yeah, it was really early. Like they were still pretty like under the radar at that point. Not trying to make myself sound like some like, I was on the ball. I just heard some tracks and I was like, oh yeah, like this band sound quite cool. And then quite funny thinking of like watching them on that little like the third stage, like just on the Sunday at Temples.
And funnily enough, I nearly didn't go. Got a ticket last minute through someone else. And then I kind of scrabbled around to get somewhere to stay. So I know people that live in Bristol now, but in 2015 I didn't. Like Millie hadn't joined Basement Torture Killings at this point. So there was no kind of like get-in. But someone that I knew from college was living in Bristol at that point in time, so I stayed where he was staying, basically. So it kind of fell into place. Because I was getting public transport, that's why I had to leave early on the Sunday. And we'll get into that because I ended up missing the band that I wanted to see because of everything that happened beforehand. But we'll get into that anyway. So, did we all meet up at the Weatherspoons to start with?
No. So, me and Kinnan drove from Milton Keynes on a Friday morning. Just went straight there, basically.
Right.
Checked in and then went straight to the venue.
Yeah.
Because we were running a bit later than we meant to. Like, I remember I missed Throats. And I was like, oh, bloody hell.
Oh, no.
Like, me booze! Just literally saw it as the doors closed. I was like, shit. frantically calling like Dave in the elevator. Obviously, there was like crap signal in the lift. I was like, Dave, I left all my booze. Yeah, that was a good start.
Absolutely fucked it.
Yeah, but I got it. Like he grabbed it. It was all good. But I was just shit. I've been here for like 5 minutes.
It already caused the ruckus.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when we actually would have met up. If it was on the Friday or the Saturday.
It was on the Friday, I think, because... I tell you what it is. The flyer that I'm looking at is all wrong, because it's got Young and In the Way on the Friday, and they actually played on the Saturday.
No, they were on the Friday. They were the first band I watched. They were on Friday, and they were like the second band on. Like I think the order changed.
Yeah, I think Young and In the Way were like the first band that I saw as well, because I watched some of Harm's Way, and then I went to go get food, which meant I mistrapped them, which I now massively rue the day that I did that because I never got to see him, and then they split up.
Inconsiderate arsehole.
That was the thing, was that I ordered the 3 sides at Weatherspoons.
The classic.
And you're like, you madman. I was like, well, it's the same price as one main meal, and now I've got 10 chicken wings, a big thing of chips with cheese on it, and like something else. I can't even fucking remember what it was. And you're like, oh. Fair enough.
Why have we not called that the triangle? 3 sides?
Oh, we should really.
There we go.
The trifecta.
It starts today.
It does start today. Fucking hell, that pub didn't know what hit it. They ran out of fucking everything.
Oh, it was mental. Like, honestly, like...
Can you remember what the name of the pub was?
Running out of everything, like, mental. I remember, like, I feel like a bit of an arsehole saying it now, actually, but I remember, like, I think it was the Saturday, and I think that was the day that the Sunday might have been worse, actually. I think a lot of people just sat and drank on the Sunday. But I remember I was waiting, obviously, for ages in the queue, and that was fine, because it's like, yeah, it's busy, what are you going to do? Got to the bar, and I was like, oh, can I have a shipyard, please? And they're like, oh, the shipyard's all sold out. I was like, oh, of course it is. I was just like so pissed off. But it wasn't really at them, it was more of like a general like exclamation for us, like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, but their staffing levels was as if nothing was happening that weekend.
No, it was just like a Wednesday night in Milton Keynes. Like...
Yeah, it was. Oh. The first time I ordered food, they were like, "Yeah, it's going to be an hour and a half wait." I was like, "Oh, I might not order food at this point in time." They ran out of like all their spirits and shit as well. That's how like desperate it was getting.
Oh, it was mental. Like,
I've got a feeling that I went on the Friday morning, and I got off the train and went to the Weatherspoons, because it was like where Temple Meads is. You go to the Weatherspoons. Basically, it's like 100 yards from the train station. Like, it's really close.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got ball bagged like thoroughly.
It was just like watching the front lines get decimated. It was awful. Felt bad for them.
We should say as well, no one was being shitty. It was just there was a lot of people. And
yeah, just constant. Like, it was just literally like, I've never seen so many people like just buying drinks.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at kind of like nearly 1,000 people, and it's with a festival atmosphere, so people are drinking twice as fast.
Yeah, and no one was going up like, "Can I have a pint?" It was like getting around in like everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I should say as well, the shortage of booze didn't just happen there. It happened at the venue. On the Saturday, they ran out of beer. Like, all they had was cider. That was it. They were having to kind of ferry out cider and take it to different bars and stuff because they had ran out of beer. So cider was all they had.
Yeah, even all the funny like ales and stuff, all gone.
I mean, metal stuff. That you're gonna get the chin beards that love their ales. Chin beards? Yeah.
Chin beards?
Chin beards. I don't know what that is.
Didn't even clock that. You could have got away with that one.
Yeah, but you
Shin
got someone message me like that's not the the word that you meant, is it?
Did you mean chin stroker?
No, I meant throat, like fucking neck beard.
Oh God, shin beard.
That's a chin beard, which is what every
Amazing.
beard is, the bit that's on your chin.
There's the episode title for this week, everyone.
What? Chin beard.
Chin beard.
I guess we should just go over a summary of like what we watched on the Friday, which was basically the HM2 day.
Yeah, the HM2 like Death Wish day. It absolutely. Looking at this lineup now, it's like it is absolutely ridiculous. It's so no wonder the geezer like fucking bankrupted himself and it all went tits up. But like, it's mad. Like.
AKA, this next song is about people talking shit.
We've spoken about Nails before, like Todd's a bit of a tool, like, but I do like their music is sick. Like, I love their music, like especially Abandon All Life album. And then a couple of years later, when we went to go and see Nails in London, Matt's car broke down twice on the way. We didn't see Nails.
We should preface this with we were going to go on the train.
More to fool me.
Which that as well, they're meant to be writing another album, but there's things that seem to be in place that means that that's not happening.
When did You and Every One of Us come out? Like 2016, 2017?
Oh, I can't remember now.
Yeah, like the latest 2017, and there's just not been a peep since, really. It's not looking good, is it?
Well, I mean, they've said some bits and pieces. They've played a few shows here and there, but yeah, it's not ideal, really, is it?
No, and then even then, like they never like heavily toured the UK and stuff anyway. Like they did like a few shows because I don't think Todd likes touring.
No,
he doesn't like a lot of things, but you know.
I should say I saw Slabdragger and they were sick.
Yeah, great band.
I saw Lengchi and Magruder Grind. I'm just looking at the like other stages.
I'll watch Magruder Grind.
I think I saw Afternoon Gentleman as well. I think I saw Enabler, but I can't remember much about him. And I think I saw some of Pig Destroyer.
I couldn't get in the room for Pig Destroyer.
We should try and explain like the layout of the venue. It's because where it is not really meant for metal music. It's a venue called Motion in Bristol. It's debatable whether it's 3 rooms, but it's like 2 separate buildings, and then where the main stage and the second stage were, they're side by side, separated by a wall. So it's not even like really like a walkway or anything. It's just a wall that goes from one area to another one. And because they're such drastically different sizes, if you're in the wrong area of the main stage and you want to get into the second stage, you're kind of buggered because everyone just kind of walks through the door to get to the second stage. I've heard that it's not as bad as what it used to be at Damnation in regards to not being able to get into rooms, but I've never been to Damnation for comparison, so I don't know. The only other time that I've been stopped so much from getting into like areas is Sonosphere, and it was Tesseract and Periphery playing like the third stage, and this was like 2011. Oh, and Korn at Download 2007, because they were playing the second stage, which was when it was still in a tent, and they had to put barriers to stop people like getting in. And Black Dahlia Murder, which was probably Sonosphere 2011 as well. But yeah, like other than that, like, but this was like there wasn't stopping you getting in; it was physically you can't.
No, yeah, it was rammed.
And then the third stage was off in a separate in like a separate building.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad.
Nah, because it was on its own. People kind of ferried in and out more. I only really went in there on the third day, and that was to watch Balan Fire and Goat Hawk.
Yeah, I watched Goat Hawk. I saw the like second half of Balan Fire.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be in there for Goat Hall. I've just seen as well, looking at this poster, that Tribulation plays, and I hadn't heard of him at that point, and now I'm like, for fuck's sake, because I love it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Svalbard played on the Saturday apparently, and I hadn't heard of them at that point, and I hadn't heard of Skit System either. But yeah, so that was kind of like the Friday, and Converge. Well, we haven't really spoken about Converge, but
yeah, obviously I watched Converge.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw him.
I think it might be the fourth time that I'd seen him.
I should probably say as well, like, I wasn't into this kind of music for more than a year before this festival happened.
Oh, really?
Like, I wasn't really into, like, any kind of hardcore influenced music. I was into, like, thrash and death metal and black metal. Like the hardcore stuff wasn't like my jam at all. So this was kind of my first time seeing a lot of these bands and kind of being involved in that kind of music, which is one of the things that I think makes it stand out for me, is that I had gone to a lot of festivals, not as many as a lot of other people, but like a reasonable amount. And it was a festival where I hadn't seen over 70% of the band, and there were bands that I knew about, which is what made it so kind of tempting to go. But yeah, so that was the Friday. There wasn't any like after party or anything, was there? I think it was like Converge and done kind of deal.
Yeah, that's the same. Like, I think for the whole thing, it wasn't like they didn't do anything at the actual venue. People just kind of went out and carried on drinking, or went back to hotels and drank or whatever.
Yeah. So the Saturday, I was there from the start on the main stage. Celeste were awesome. I really liked Celeste.
I hadn't listened to them ever, and then that was one of my like standouts of the weekend.
So I went through and listened to the bands that I hadn't heard like before, that I kind of was intrigued in, where there wasn't kind of clashes or anything. And I'd listened to them for I listened to about 3 or 4 songs beforehand, and yeah, no, they were really fucking good. Torch, yeah, were very good.
That was another band I couldn't get in the room for.
Torch.
Yeah, I just timed it badly and it was packed. Like, I just couldn't get in there.
I think I was lucky actually, looking at, depending if this was correct, I think because I was watching Mantar, I went from the second stage into the room for the main stage for Torch, which is probably how I got in. Because I don't think I watched Bolzer, but I definitely watched Portal.
I tried getting in for Portal, but again, that was rammed as well.
Yeah. Portal's a weird one, because they're so muddy anyway. If the sound is weird, it just becomes like too much. And it was borderline kind of on that with them when they played. And he didn't have his clock head, which was annoying.
Yeah,
but then,
that part of me, like, not to discredit the band at all, like, or their music, like, I don't want it to come across like that. But part of me wonders how many people are just like, oh yeah, I've seen about this band with a geezer who wears a clock on his head. I'm just gonna go and have a look. Like,
so, but like it was a veil and a headdress instead, for that album.
Right.
I couldn't. This is the one where I couldn't get in the room. I couldn't get in the room for Pig Destroyer playing Natasha.
Yeah, both Pig Destroyer sets. Like, I couldn't get near it. I was like, oh, fuck's sake.
I mean, I think like when I watched the Pig Destroyer on the Friday, I think I watched like, we're talking grindcore, so it was probably like 2-3 songs, but I wasn't in there for long before I was like, I need to get out. And it's kind of the same deal for Triptychon, but by that point I was really fucking drunk. I'd overdone it during the day and I hadn't eaten, so I was like very messy at that point.
Yeah.
And I tried to get in for Triptychon, but I was probably bumping into too many people and causing a problem. So I was like, right, okay, I'm going to go. Like, so I left again. It was hot and disorientating. And I watched like 10 minutes of Sun before leaving because it was just really fucking loud.
I think I watched most of Sun, like basically from when I got there, I watched it until the end.
Yeah.
But that was a funny thing, actually. So me and Matt were at the Weatherspoons when Sun started. And a lot of the people we were with were like, oh, I'm not going to bother. Like, I'm just going to stay here, kind of thing. And I was like, Matt, should we go and check it out? Because I was like, I'd be quite keen to. I was like, even if we just watch a bit, like, I just want to see like how loud this band are. Like, because like full disclosure, like, I can't listen to Sun on record and enjoy it. Like, I do find it boring. I know some people like really love it, and fair enough. Like, you know, each their own, but not a band I can sit down and listen to on record. But we were like, yeah, let's go and check them out. And we left the Spoons, and like, how far would you say that walk was from there to the venue?
5 minutes.
Yeah, so a decent stretch. You know, like a good. There was a good distance between that venue and the Spoons. Like, obviously not miles and miles, but it wasn't next door. As soon as you went out the front of Spoons, you could hear Sun.
Yeah, it was. You could
like,
hear it from half a mile away.
Yeah, and it was like you could hear. It wasn't like, oh, I can hear a bit of a rumble. It's like, no, I can hear the chord change. Like, it was fucking mental. Like, and we got there, and obviously, like, yeah, the security and that are giving out like hearing protection to everyone, and if you don't put it in when you're watching Sun, you are just an idiot. There's no two ways about it. And even with the hearing protection, it's so loud. Like, people just falling over and shit. It was mad.
Yeah, people were falling over. Like someone was having like there was cases of like people having like nosebleeds and shit. Pretty crazy. But this kind of leads on to kind of what the clusterfuck was, which was the Sunday, which was Sun tore up about half of the speakers in the front of house PA system. Like, and I'm making a generalization because I don't know for sure. I don't know like the proper ins and outs of it. But there was an issue with the speakers following the sunset that meant that the Sunday billing got pushed back by
about 3 hours, I think.
Was it 3 hours?
It was quite long. Like, I think it started at about 2.
I think the Sunday was going to start at 12 anyway. So
okay, so a couple of hours.
Yeah,
then.
I think it was like I was going to say an hour and a half, like 2 hours, which meant that I missed Pallbearer because that
was the last band I watched.
I had got the train and everything to go home all lined up so that I could watch Pallbearer up until the last song. So I don't know, the last 5 minutes of their scheduled set, and then I'd have to go get the train because Bristol to here is literally a long old trek. It's train from Bristol to Didcot, then Didcot to Oxford, and then a bus from Oxford to Buckingham, where I am.
Oh, yeah.
And because everything got pushed back, I had to leave on the changeover before they were due to play.
Oh, man.
Which was an arse.
Deeply wounding.
It was deeply wounding. Yeah, like there wasn't like masses of bands that I wanted to see on the Sunday. Pallbearer was one of them. It's kind of really Valenfire and Goathawk.
Goathawk were bloody great as well.
Yeah. I thought Valenfire were good, but I've since this now have spoken to Sam, who plays rhythm guitar in Valenfire. He said it's one of their worst ever sets.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was fine, but obviously it depends if there was technical difficulties or whatever else. But I mean, yeah, I thought it was fine. But yeah, he was like, oh, that because I said to him, I was like, oh, I saw you guys at Temple's Festival. I was like, oh, don't talk about that show. So okay. The second stage bands, like I'm into them more now. So Crocodile, Ken Mode, and Will Haven. At the time, I was kind of like, take it or leave it kind of thing. But now I'm kind of like, yeah, I probably would have made more of an effort to see him now compared to then. But yeah, at the time I wasn't really bothered about it. What ones did you see? I think I was with you for Goat Whore and Valenfire because we were trying to tell Dave that Goat Whore were on.
Yeah, because for context here, basically, at this point, me and Dave were working together. Like, I'd started working with Dave at the warehouse that we worked.
We should probably say who Dave is because we like.
Yeah, we mentioned about 5 times. Everyone's like, "Who the fuck's Dave?" So Dave was like a good friend of like me and Matt. So Dave and Matt have been friends for bloody like years before. Obviously, like either of us knew either of them. But Dave was in Seath. I knew him before that as well, being at shows and stuff. But then obviously we became really good mates when we played in a band together. And then I worked with Dave for a couple of years as well. And one of the best things about that job is because there was no customer. It wasn't like a customer-facing warehouse. We were a dispatch warehouse, and it was really small workforce. It was like 5 people, so we could just listen to like whatever music we wanted to, like all day out of like the speakers. So that actually Dave got me into a lot of these bands, like probably in the year leading up to like Temple's happening. So like obviously he's like really into Doom and stuff. So Dave got me into Doom pretty much. Like checked that Pallbearer together, and like he loves Weed Eater and stuff. So he got me into them. And like when in the months leading up to Temples, we were looking at the lineup and we were like the bands that we hadn't heard. We were like, oh, we'll check them out so we know like who we should go and see and stuff. And Goat Whore, we put Goat Whore on. We're like, this band are fucking wicked. Just got well into them, like rinsed all the albums at work so much. We're like, yeah, 100% got to see Goat Whore. Sunday morning, remembering the Spoons, and Dave's like, there's not many bands I want to see today. I was like, right, Goat Whore on at this time. Just like, we'll be there. Just give us a shout kind of thing. He's like, yeah, definitely be there for Goat Whore. It's getting closer and closer to Goat Whore. It's like, it's calling him. Like, Dave, you come and goes, yeah, I was going to have another pint. I'll be there in a bit. And then when he finally gets there, they've already started and they've closed that, like, even though this is the first day and you're saying it was no problems getting in and out, I think a lot of people wanted to watch Goat Whore, and obviously like it was packed, so it was barricaded off, like they weren't letting people in, so we couldn't watch it. It's just like after all that anticipation as well, it's like fuck's sake.
Absolute ball ache.
Dropped the bollock on that one, and then funny leading on from that as well, I like went to watch Pallbearer after that. And I remember, like, that was another band he really wanted to watch as well, Pallbearer. I told, like, me and Kinnan, we were like, oh, we're going to go off the Pallbearer because the Sunday headliner were Earth, and, like, neither of us are particularly into him. And I was like, I know it's not to the same extremity as Sun, but they're kind of, like, droney and band, like, I was like, Sun was cool for what it was, obviously, like, just being smashed by volume. But I was like, I can't be bothered with, like, another band like that, and then it's like a 3-hour drive from Bristol to MK.
Yeah, especially when it's like the last band of a 3-day festival.
Yeah, it's like watch Pallbearer, who really like, and then get back at like a kind of decentish time, like no grumbles about that. And like, yeah, Kidden hadn't listened to Pallbearer, so I was like, I think you'll like him, and he like well enjoyed it. But they were fucking wicked. Like, sorry to rub it in, don't mean to, but yeah, they were banging. Like really on point. Like the set was class. No, we went after that, but yeah, like we were like, oh Dave, we actually got a really good spot. We're like, oh Dave, yeah, we got a good spot, and it's like, yeah, cool, nice, I'll come and find you. And he was so battered by this point. Like Sophie, is his missus, she'd gone and up to the seated bit, and we just saw him walk past us, just oblivious, and he clocked us, and he was just like looked so chuffed with himself. We just saw him like wander off up the steps, like brilliant. Then he came back past us like about 5 minutes later, and he's like, yeah, I need to go and get me and Soph a pint. And we're like, all right, nice. And then about 10 minutes later, he comes back past us. He's like, I forgot my wallet. It's just like it was just gone by that point. But yeah, I didn't watch many bands on Sunday, really. I watched Ken Mode. I never heard them before that, and they were banging as well. I think that was a kind of thing about Temples. There was an equal mix of like bands that I knew I liked, and obviously like, yeah, I'm gonna go and watch them, and like I'd listened to for like quite a while. Bands that I'd gotten into relatively like short time before that festival, and I was like, oh, I want to go and see them. And then like a few bands I'd never heard of, I just kind of like wandered into, and like I ended up really like enjoying. Like
Yeah.
is a and I do prefer that to like, even though this was an absolutely stacked like lineup, there's like so much good stuff on it. It wasn't like every stage, every band I was like, shit, I really want to watch that band, because that's worse, I think, sometimes, because it's like you're always going to miss out on something that you really want to watch. It's hard to choose.
Yeah, like looking at this, of the bands on the entire lineup, none of the bands, barring Pig Destroyer and Triptychon via Celtic Frost, I would have spent less. All of them, I would have spent less than 5 years listening to, by a long way. Some of them like a year. Like even Converge and Nails and Trap Them and Young and In the Way. I'm just reading like, and Goat Whore and Torch is a weird one. Like, I've been told about them, but even then, that was 2011, 2012. So you're talking kind of 4 years before this point. So it was all new stuff to me. It was like an entirely new selection of genres of music before listening to stuff like this. Yeah, you're talking like I was listening to stuff like Cryptopsy and Deicide and Cadaver and Aura Noir and Immortal. Like, none of it was in any way stuff like this kind of thing. As it turns out, the lineup was too good to be true because it bankrupted the promoter. But
yeah, there's not been another one since, has there?
There tried to be one for the following year, but obviously it all went to pot. It was definitely a lineup that was potentially too good to be true for the size of the venue.
I think this particular edition of it as well, obviously I think there were 3 altogether.
Yeah, I think there was 2 or 3, yeah.
It's one of those like, oh yeah, I went to that Temples kind of thing. Not in a bragging way, but it's like, I think everyone who went knows like how good it was.
Yeah, I think if people say that they went to Temples, they're not talking about the other ones. They're talking about 2015.
Because I know to some people, I mean, it's like some of these bands are like, who? Like, what? But if you're into this kind of stuff, it's like, fuck. It's like, it is literally like, oh, okay. It's like that game, like make your festival lineup, and it's pretty much that.
Yeah, I mean, and we should say as well, like it was the spawning of our band. But this is just randomly flashed into my head. In the band that me and Lewis were in, we supported a band, and Andy, the previous bass player for Conjurer, so the bass player before Connor,
not me,
not you, no. We supported his old band, and I saw him on the Saturday, and he was like, "Oh yeah, so I'm doing this like new band with these guys," and it was Brady and Dan.
Right, okay.
And he was like, "Oh, we're gonna do this new band." So, "Oh, what's it called?" "It's called Conjurer." "Oh yeah, that's cool. Like, what's it like?" And he was like, "Oh, it's like doomy, heavy stuff." So yeah, I mean, they were in the kind of jamming stages at this time. So I mean, I don't know if there was other bands that were waiting in the wings that could have formatively said that like the festival that they went to was the shaping of the band, but I mean, they were in their formative moments at that time as well, so I don't know whether or not they would say that the festival was helpful for shaping their sound or not, but I mean, it was definitely helpful for us.
Oh, big time, yeah. I was kind of like, not in limbo, it wasn't that drastic, but basically I wasn't in a band at that point, and it's the first time in years I hadn't been in a band. So like saying Steve had stopped, so I was like, I know I want to start a new project and I want to play guitar, like I don't want to do vocals. And coming back from this, I was like, it really like just gave me the kick up the arse to kind of get on it, basically.
Yeah, and I don't know, for me, it wasn't straight away because I was already in 2 bands at that point. But then, yeah, as soon as one of them kind of was going the way that it did, I was like, right, I don't want to do the genre that band was. I want to do like HM2E stuff in what originally Casket Feeder was meant to be kind of simplistic. It's not anymore, but it was that kind of like skullduggery style riffing and things like that. which is what the original kind of MO of the band was to write ignorant riffs.
Yeah.
And now it's like melodic, which is interesting.
Now we use all the strings.
It took some fiddling for me to use all of them on the album, didn't it? Because I was like, I think at some point I worked out that if I didn't play certain like 2 or 3 lead parts, I didn't need the high string. I was like, well, that's just silly. I'm gonna have to like incorporate it more.
Max Cavalera, mate, 4 strings, all you need.
Well, it worked for CKY, and they were fucking massive. So, but yeah, I knew that like from that and kind of watching Kurt Ballew's his like masterclass thing that he did for Creative Live, which initially was my introduction to Nails, was that he was playing like Nails songs on that masterclass. And then kind of going through that and listening to that stuff, I was like, this is kind of like exciting that they're taking this sound that was meant, or not meant, but made famous through one genre of music and using it for something different. And coming at it from, obviously, me personally being not into hardcore growing up, but being in a band with people that were into hardcore growing up, and kind of mashing it together to make something different was more exciting than just being in a band of like 4 or 5 people that have grown up listening to the same music.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think it should be said as well, like, even I think within the band, like our bands, we've definitely got obviously crossover in terms of what we listen to and stuff, and there's like common reference points and stuff. But I think all of us are kind of more like there's stuff that we're into more heavily than the others. It's a good melting pot. I think that's what I'm trying to say without going around the houses too much.
I don't know. I guess what we're trying to say is that you don't have to all listen to the exact same stuff to make a band's worth of music. I think that people sometimes worry that if you've got people that listen to too many different types of music, that the stuff that you write doesn't have direction and you can't compartmentalize that your output, I guess. I mean, during the lockdown, I wrote 3 9-minute long Funeral Doom songs, but they have nothing that like they've got nothing to do with the band. They're just my own thing. I would never think to use them or try and pitch them because they're so not what the band is about. But it's something that like I'm into.
That point about, you know, being in a band with people and having like a mix of influences, like, I just think it's a good thing, really, because I think if you've got those different influences, it just gives you more in a creative process. For example, if you say, you know, you get 4 mates and all of your favourite band is Metallica, and you go, let's start a thrash band, it's very obvious what that band's going to sound like.
Yeah.
Not to go off into a totally different discussion, but it's something I've thought about like recently. I was going through a phase of just like putting playlists on, just because I couldn't be asked to think about what I wanted to listen to and keep changing stuff like when an album finished. So I was like putting playlists on, and I was listening to like a few like 90s like alt rock ones and stuff. And even obviously when that was going on, and a lot of things were trying to be pigeonholed under like grunge and stuff, even though those bands sounded like very different to each other.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and I was like, obviously, when you start a band now, probably 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna go on like social media and be like, oh, I'm looking to start a band. You know, I need X members, influences, and kind of vibe you're going for, right? But then you think back then, if you were starting a band, you didn't have the internet at your disposal to find people like so specifically into the same kind of stuff. So say you lived in a town with like 1 bass player, and you get on, it's like, okay, we'll be in a band together, but the chances are you're going to be into like very different stuff. And I'm like, well, is that a lot of the reason those bands are so like creatively different and the music was so varied? Because I guess luxury is one way of putting it. You didn't have the luxury of like being able to seek out like particular people into this particular kind of music. So you did have that melting pot, and that's why it came like it was people coming together with different influences to make something together. And it was just like a private thought I was having. I was like, oh, it's quite interesting to kind of think about.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I could think of rather than doing that, like advertising, is like band advertisements on like message boards, like in music shops and practice rooms, would be a similar thing. But then they're already going to be like active musicians, and again, it's not going to be the same because you're gonna just get a response of like, yeah, influencers are blah 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 blah, and the person is going to turn up and just kind of audition whatever they want. I guess I don't know. It's like it's a bit different, and it's not everything's not wasn't quite so not pigeonholed, but like subgenres on subgenres to the nth degree, like falling down the rabbit hole of different things. Well, I guess that's what happened with us, really. We never really advertised for members.
No.
It was kind of like we looked around between friends who were free at the time, rather than kind of putting advertisements out and potentially getting someone that we don't know. I was going to say an outsider, but that's not what I mean. But just kind of like an external person, kind of that you only know through the band, rather than someone that you knew personally beforehand.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's the most important thing, personally, like in my opinion. Like when you're putting a band together, it's more about the actual relationship of the band. I'd put that above any kind of like skill or like technical capability, for example. But yeah, sorry, I think I've just gone off on a bit of a tangent there. But to kind of like bring it back to obviously like temples and like festivals in general. Like looking at this like lineup again, I don't know if it's just because this is the point where I kind of got introduced to the genre and stuff, but like obviously with Doom and stuff, the last few years, like Doom seems to have become like a bigger and bigger thing in the UK. You know, like you've got Desert Fest and stuff. Like a lot more people that we know seem to like be into Doom or playing Doom bands and stuff. I don't know, was this like not a catalyst as such, but do you think maybe this is the way that festivals can grow in a kind of healthy way, like these smaller festivals catering to like specific like genres and stuff?
I mean, Temples is a bad example because it went bust, but
yeah,
I would rather go to the smaller festivals than like the mega fests. However, they come with their own issues. For example, when we're saying if they're indoors, you can't get in the rooms. Or festivals like the ones that you get in Camden that use multiple venues in Camden, that you're having to walk between separate venues to go see things, which you then have to take into account when you're looking at the like the lineups and stuff, because you're going to have to put in a 5-10 minute walk between venues into your times, like going between bands and stuff. So it kind of adds to their own like separate issues. The best one for me, and it probably I say it always will be, I don't know, but Obscene Extreme I feel like was probably exactly the right size for what I liked. And the thing is as well is that it was one stage. Unlike any other fest that I've been to, it had a lot of seating. It's in like a grass amphitheater with benches that are in the grass, like around the stage. So you have the stage.
Oh, okay.
And then you have space at the front for. I mean, it's a massive assumption, but like between 2,000 and 3,000 people potentially that you could fit, like if you really squeezed them in, yeah. And then around that you've got loads of benches where everyone can sit down or stand or do whatever they want, which like it changes the vibe massively, because if that was just 7,000 people stood, it would have a really different feeling to it than the fact that you've got the people at the front and then all the people kind of sat down chilling out behind it. And like because there's only one stage, you don't have to worry about clashes. The days run longer. It goes from 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. And then the beer tent then plays electronic music as an after party until like 6-7 a.m. It's pretty mental, like when you think about it. I don't think they'd be able to fit any more people in, but I don't think they want to. I think they've reached the point where they're happy. This year, obviously, it's been pushed back to next year, but this year would have been 22 years that they've done it, I think. So the year that I played was the 20th anniversary, and that was 2018. Yeah, so and then 21, so it would have been 22 this year. that's organically grown over a long period of time. It's been in the same area, apart from 1 or 2 years, but it's grown. If you look at kind of old photos from like 10 years ago, the stage is way smaller. There's less people there. The like all of the stalls and everything are closer. But as it's grown, the stage has got bigger, and the stalls and everything have been kind of are in different areas to where they were. But it's still more than capable for handling the amount of people that he's got there. And yeah, I think it's like 7,500 people. But the general kind of way that is that it's like growing gradually over time rather than like overstepping the mark too soon with like trying to book bigger, like massive bands that are too big for the thing that they're playing. The layout is very good, and I really enjoyed it. I'm sure there are people that would say that it's not good for them at all because there's a lack of like variety, that there's only the one stage, which means there's only kind of one size of bands, I guess you could say, playing, and there's not going to be much of anything else. It's not like Glastonbury, it's not like Boomtown where you've got loads of different areas and stuff. It's not that kind of festival.
I mean, personally, like, I think the kind of, like you're saying, is that kind of middle-sized festival, I think, is like the best. And there's a lot to be said for something that gets to a certain point in terms of size and knows that it's good to stay at that level.
Yes, yeah.
As we've mentioned, like, as good as this Temples was, it bit off more than it could chew in a way, and it tanked it, and it's not going to come back now. I think it's the Friday, honestly, more than anything. Obviously, you have that whole stage of like Death Wish bands, which are obviously within this kind of realm of that like they're big bands like Converge and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think Sun charge a lot of money.
Yeah, and then on that first stage and on the Friday as well, like Bongzilla headline, and they just reformed, so that was like a big deal.
Yeah,
there was a lot of like bigger bands, and then like a lot of bands who were coming through, and like it was so much of a good thing, but like too much, like you say, like too much of a good thing. And it's a bit of it's a completely different kind of music and stuff, but something I've gone to a few times is like the kind of music that Aston really likes, but Slam Dunk.
Yeah.
That site, obviously, it used to be even 3 sites, but now it's back to 2 sites. But it's like a 1-day festival. So there's Slam Dunk North, Slam Dunk South, and there was a Midlands, but they stopped the Midlands one now. Right. I've only ever been to the South one. It's like in Hatfield, and it used to be based on the uni campus. So you'd have the main stage outside, and like some smaller stages outside, and then there'd be like 2 stages inside the like hall, not the halls, but you know what I mean, like in the Union.
Yeah.
So you'd have a big one downstairs and like a small one up there. But now it's moved to like an outdoor area,
right?
Which I thought was really good, because when it was on the campus, like you're saying, getting into stuff inside nightmare.
Yeah, it's awful
because the small stage was upstairs.
Yeah.
So imagine like a bottleneck going down a flight of stairs. It's like brilliant.
It's like, dangerous.
Yeah, and like, do you know that band Creeper?
Yes. Yeah.
So obviously they got really big. Like they've come like I think they've got a new album coming out this year, but obviously everything's gone a bit skew-iff because of the whole no gigs and stuff happening.
Yeah.
But they were like, for context, like they were the support for like, the MCR comeback tour, like in the UK.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a massive thing. But they were kind of like the band of the moment, like the hotly tipped band, and they were playing at Slam Dunk. I can't remember what year it was, and they were on that tiny, like the smaller stage, like inside, like upstairs, and it was like fucking hell, like completely different. Like obviously completely different in terms of scale, but it's like that time we were looking at that Reading lineup, and it was Billie Eilish was in the tent.
I was thinking exactly that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they really, and obviously they did in the end, but it's like that really needs to be moved to the main stage because she's just blown up.
Yeah, we said that like the week of the album being released, didn't we?
Yeah, and then obviously they did move it to the main stage, but obviously it's not quite on that scale, but it was like, yeah, literally, remember like I was kind of wanting to watch them just out of like interest because I kind of like stuff like that. It's kind of like melodic punk, like.
Yeah.
But I saw the queue. I was like, I'm not even going to bother trying. Like, you know,
there's just no point at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, but since they moved to the outside one, you don't have those problems. It's tents and like the massive, like obviously open air, like outdoor stage and stuff, and it just works a lot better. But I don't see them trying to go bigger than that, and I think it suits it really, really well. Obviously, it's like it's not as niche a music as what we've been talking about. It's predominantly like pop punk and stuff, but it knows its audience, and they book well. Like I think they cater well to the audience. They do book some like heavier stuff as well. Like last time, like me and Lewis went last time with everyone. And there's like, you know, Brutality Will Prevail and stuff like that. So it's a good mixture, but it's predominantly like pop punk and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like to make the point of like being a certain size, and I think they've know now what works well, and it doesn't seem it just seemed pointless to try and go bigger than that because that's when you start running into problems.
Yeah, you start getting into kind of like if you're not selling it out, you're losing money kind of deal.
Yeah. And I think it's a catch-22 sometimes because if it gets bigger, like, and this is in terms of like any like festival, I guess, like it gets bigger, it needs to draw in more people. So what do? It's like, do you diversify the lineup in terms of like away from the core thing that made people love it, and then you might risk alienating some of the like regular attendees, but then that might not balance out in terms of new people that are coming in.
Yeah, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Right, I think that will do us. You want to wrap up?
Yeah, so obviously, like saying, I hope we took a bit of a different tack this week. Just had a nice little reminiscence about a festival we went to, and just like obviously other people that went, just enjoying some music and stuff. Again, just to touch base on what we opened up with, we will have all those charity links on our socials and in the episode description. I guess next week, Aaron, we'll be back to kind of a normal episode.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like, I mean, the last couple of weeks has been difficult to kind of get the wheat from the chaff in regards to stories and things. So
yeah, I say next week we'll be back to a normal one, but 2020 just keeps throwing curveballs out, so we don't know.
Yeah, everyone might have Ebola next week because that started back up again in Africa. So
yeah.
Let's see.
Might have found Madeleine McCann next week.
Oh, I found out that that's a distraction. That bloke said that last year.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
So wow.
That's just been peddled to kind of distract from the BLM stuff.
Yeah, fucking dirty tricks of the press. But yeah, it's obviously like there will be an episode next week, and it might be in a normal format, but we'll see. But yeah, again, obviously, check us out on all our socials. The BritHick across all platforms. Anyone who has been listening to us, like, cheers again. You can share it around, like, just help the audience grow a bit. Obviously, would be much appreciated. And then, if there's anything you want us to check out or any suggestions, just hit us up, either like personally or just on the pages. Like, we're always open to ideas. And yeah, so I guess that's it for this week.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.